Alright, hello fellow YouTubians, my name is Terry Andrews Jr., also known as the J5 Guru, and I'm going to show you some items in my personal short circuit collection. Okay, some of these items are not mine, and excuse the background noise, the furnace just kicked on. It is still winter here in the northeast of the United States, so therefore we require heating. Got my display here so I can see what's going on. So, yeah, let me turn this around here and see if I can get this to go down. Here we go. Okay, and looks like it's in frame. My remote viewfinder does not work that great. Hopefully this is still recording. Okay, so various things, stuff, some short circuit related, some not. Input ink mug. This is made, I believe, by Simon Marston, former team member of ours, had these made for us. Yeah, they're pretty cool. So that's one thing there. Okay, so let's start off. This is the military head covering from Short Circuit 1. This is the number 5 Hero. It's written inside there, and it's made out of resin and fiberglass. Pretty cool. There is a story behind this. I purchased this off a young lady many years ago, and this is discolored. This went through a fire. This and the mini J5 laser, she owned both of them. They both went through a fire. This used to have a thin plastic piece down here, a cosmetic piece, but that was made of really thin material, and the heat from the fire just kind of destroyed it, so she took it off and threw it away. So I don't have that piece, but yeah. So these almost burn up in a fire. The laser was obviously laying down with this side, since it's clean, on a tabletop, and you can see where all the soot and things like that laid on the top of this part. She must have had something else laying on it, like a postcard or something, because I can see that kind of squarish sort of area that wasn't really hit by the soot, because it was protected in that area. So yeah, military head covering. Just to let you know that it is accurate. Now this is missing the side detail plate, so there is a little bit of a gap there, but basically this thing goes on just like this, and yeah. Now, was this screen used? No, not that I know of. In Short Circuit 1, I verified, I know that this is an actual piece from the movie. The only thing I have been able to verify is that this one was not used on screen because these lines are vertical. They're made to represent the vents, and they should be horizontal. And I've not found any movie scenes where this particular military head covering was on any of the robots. So some painter messed up at some point, painted the lines wrong, and they either decided, well, we're just going to keep this as an extra piece if we need it, but not put it on screen because it was painted wrong. But yeah, so I love this piece. This is really cool. Okay, so as I said, this is a mini J5 laser. This was purchased from the same young lady. The story behind this was that somebody that apparently worked on the movie was friends with her and liked her and give this to her. And this was straight out of the mold. You can still see the top of the, where they poured it into the mold. You can still see that artifact in there. This is very cool. I like this a lot. Now, just for those of you out there that have a Robot V, which I happen to have, if you're wondering about a sense of scale, yeah. You can kind of see there that they're not even close. So, but this was made to be a representation of the Mini J5 robot from Short Circuit 2. This was made by Mike Van Plu. He designed it, and him and a gentleman named Tom, I'm not sure of his last name, but they both worked together, and through Mike's designs and Tom's resources, they were able to have those produced, and many of you out there actually own one of these. Mike Van Plu actually sent me this for free because I'd worked with him on the original resin cast version, giving him some, since I'd worked on the full-size robot, I gave him some photographs and some general measurements and things like that so he could more accurately make his resin version, which is extremely heavy and delicate. This is the Angry Johnny 5. Unfortunately, he's covered in dust and kitchen grease because years ago I had him on top of the cupboards in my kitchen, and this at some point would need to be properly cleaned, but I'm not a restorer, so I'm just going to let it as is. Sometimes the best thing you can do when you don't know what you're doing or how to do something is just leave well enough alone. And at some point, you know, I may have somebody that works with models and stuff that would know what kind of cleaning solvents, well, not solvents, but cleaning products or procedures, you know, they would be able to properly clean this and not damage the underlying paint or structure. This is really cool. I love this thing. I actually purchased this from Mike Van Plu. When it arrived after shipping, the rear caster had snapped off. It had snapped at the mid-torso, so I actually drilled that out, put a brass pin in there so the mid-torso or the upper torso actually can be turned and articulated slightly. So, but yeah, I love this. This is quality hand craftsmanship. Mike Van Plu is, you know, an absolute genius at this stuff. My understanding is that he's had some health setbacks, and I hope he's still around. I hope he's doing much better. I'd like to hear from him. So, yeah, those are those two. These over here are resin cast parts. I have a few more, couldn't quite locate them. These are resin cast parts that were sent to me years ago by John Rigg, who owns the Robot Hut. Again, haven't heard from him, don't know how he's doing, but yeah, he sent me these, and I actually ended up sending him a set of rear caster tires for his robot, the original tires. I don't know if he ever put them on his, but he sent me these to aid me, along with like the top of the head, the resin casting, and these come off the stunt butt that was in the Goodwin collection that he had access to. This right here is a Mini Johnny 5 head. This is not mine. This is one of my team members. This is very cool. This was very expensive. But yeah, so we got one. We have this fully catted up. This is all handmade, so it has character. Not all perfectly straight lines, not everything's perfectly flat, so on and so forth, but nonetheless, it is a very cool piece. Okay. And, yeah. Okay. Sim not provisioned on my viewfinder. Oh, and in case you're wondering, again for scale, since you all have a Robot V, yeah, not even close, folks. Not even close. But this is still very, very cool. I love this thing, this Robot V. I know I had worked with Mike and talked to him many, many times over video chat, and he had always said he always his you know, his lifelong dream was to be able to make these Mini Johnny 5s, you know, toys available for people. Well, Robot V, copyright issues there, but yeah, so that's why it does look different than you know, some of his earlier work, which is, you know, because this was meant for sale. And, you know, somebody out there, you know, you make too accurate of a Johnny 5, mini Johnny 5, try to offer them up for sale, and somebody's going to have their hand out wanting a check because of, you know, they own the copyright to the image or whatever. So it is what it is when you deal with this stuff. Okay, back here I have this usually hanging on my wall upstairs. This is kind of like a fake newspaper clipping put out as a promotional product by the movie studios. You can find these on eBay, which is where I found this, but they're usually ripped and torn and things, but this is like in excellent condition. I'm not sure if it came yellowed like this, but it's not stained or anything. This is in what I would say pristine condition considering how old it is. Makes for very cool reading too. Okay, there's that. Sorry if I'm in frame, I'm sure I am. Gotta be very careful. Some of this stuff is one of a kind and priceless. Just for, you know, this piece here, you probably wonder what the heck this is. This is actually something I made back in the right after the movie come out with just scraps I had around. My version of a Johnny 5 head. This is an old case for an old Sparko-matic speaker. The neck articulation like this is actually some A-arms from a Radio Shack remote control RC car buggy. It was called a Golden Arrow. I put them in there. There's the wheel spacers for it. This here is an old wheel out of an 8-track player. This case was an old car stereo radio. These pieces here were old pneumatic valve or pneumatic gauges. The center pieces are reflectors that I cut out and put in there. 5-volt regulator. Actually, yeah, it says Craig Corporation. The sticker's still on there. So it's an old Craig stereo radio. I had wires to the back. And this actually had lip lights in it, red lip lights, little tiny ones. And I had it all wired up and stuff. And the servos, it has 2 servos here, so the head could go up and down. And then a servo in the back that was hooked into the arms that would cause it to go left and right. So yeah, this is my first attempt at a Johnny 5. So I love it when you guys do things like that. I've seen Johnny 5s made out of cardboard and wood and just whatever things people have had, and I love the creativity behind every single one of them. So back here, this is a redesigned version of the original tool arm that I made for Martin Pinner. This is not mine, this is his. And he actually used this as his end project, demonstrating artificial intelligence. But it was his final kind of like thesis when he graduated from university. Fortunately, we had a debate about this. I put all manual controls in here because I'm like, dude, if something goes wrong during your presentation and your AI doesn't work or the interface doesn't work, this is going to need to do something, even if it's just you flipping buttons, flipping switches and pushing buttons. And that's exactly what happened. The AI didn't work, the interface didn't work, so he still got a passing grade. But fortunately, you know, because I had put those provisions in there that could be manually operated, it's not functional right now. I don't have all the battery packs and stuff like that. But yeah, it rotates 360 degrees in either direction, an improvement over the original. And actually, I'll show you here. You know, I can't turn it, but the tools do flip out and go back. And this is all servo controlled. The original one was all pneumatically operated. But yeah, and this is, you know, dimensionally completely accurate to the original one. I even stamped in the numbers for the individual tools. on the tool head. And I machined 95% of this. The only thing I didn't do was the little keyway up here, because it was in steel, and my old mill machine wouldn't do that part. And then the front end here, my small milling machine that I had at the time, I could not do this part. Plus, I just didn't. I was just teaching myself machining, so I couldn't do that part. So Martin had that done over in England and then sent it to me and integrated it in. And oh, by the way, this has optical feedback, so it actually knows which tool is in what position when. So when this tool's up, it knows tool number 2, sends a binary code to these LEDs. And we designed that also. We tried various things, you know, resistors, things like that. But the optical pickup, it has a vinyl sticker in there with different patterns that are picked up by photo sensors. Okay, well, how long am I getting on this video? Geez, 16 minutes. Wow, can I talk? Okay, so moving along. Okay, so these I purchased directly from Eric Allard. He had an eBay auction at the time. These are the only ones I've ever seen. Eric tells me these were used to put inside the windshields of the production vehicles when they were like going on and off the lots. That way they were kind of like easily identified as production vehicles. Short Circuit 1, you know, Short Circuit, and then Short Circuit 2. And he also had this one down here, Alien Resurrection, which he also worked on. And he actually signed these two for me and wrote on them, Terry, thanks for keeping number 5 alive. So, and I purchased these after I worked on his original robot. And then I got the ticket stub for my flight out there when I went out there, which was April 17th, 2004. Actually, I think that was a return. I forget if that was return. I don't know. This is that was Chicago O'Hare to Harris, or from. Okay, so I was returning on the 17th, Chicago O'Hare to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So, which is where I departed from. Let me see here. Oh, one last thing, and I consult the hive mind of the internet. So, if you're wondering what this thing is, so am I. Come on, folks. I've had this for years. I purchased this on eBay because it had a 102 servo in it, which I needed. And I didn't know where it came from or what it was used in, but I thought it was cool anyhow. But I needed the servo. It's kind of a serpent-looking thing. It has the 102 servo controlled this articulation. It has a shaft that comes out down at the bottom that hooks into a servo, so it gives it the left and right. This portion here lights up. The eyes light up red. They also move and articulate. It has a panel here to access the RC receiver and things like that. Trying to give you a good... No, this is not from Chopping Mall. But I do know this. This was in Eric Allard's shop at some point in time. I have a photograph that somebody took in one of his shops where you can actually kind of see this sitting on a shelf in one of his shops. So I'm reasonably certain that Eric Allard actually made this, and I should probably just email him. But I enjoy the hunt. And going directly to him would be kind of easy. So anyhow, if anybody recognizes this, at some point I thought this came from Michael Jackson's Moonwalker video. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to find out what this was used in, a TV commercial, a music video, a movie. It's just very cool, and I really like this, but the mystery around it, endures. And so let me show you the bottom of it here. It's kind of a bottom view. There's a side view, top view, the other side, and the front again. So yeah, this is cool. I just like to know, you know, I'd like to see this on screen or something wherever it was used. Maybe it was never used, you know, maybe or maybe it's just one of those obscure B movies that went straight to video, or who knows, maybe it was used in an exhibition. I don't know. But yeah, so there you go, folks. So I have one more thing to show you, and I'm sure, well, actually two more things. One more thing I'm sure you'll enjoy, and then the last one will be the Muy Grande. All right, folks. Well, that's about it for this section of the video. Do I have myself? Yep, I guess I am. My ugly mug in frame. So there we go, and the next portion you'll see is the input ink sign. All right. Okay, but before I show you the input ink sign, I have so much memorabilia crap. I actually missed some. These I have to do hands-free because they are extremely difficult to get to, and yeah, my shop is a mess. So, we pan up here. This is the Japanese Zero seen in Short Circuit 2, the one that that goes down and hits the guy in the backside. Okay, so story behind this. This was an eBay auction. There were two of these by the same seller. The one was the Mustang, and this Japanese Zero. The Mustang was in the description written as the hero plane to hit the guy in the butt. Anybody that's ever watched Short Circuit 2 knows that that is wrong. It was actually the Japanese Zero. So, what happened is this. The Mustang was listed at, I believe, $1,200, and I bought these quite a long time ago. This was listed for auction at like $300 because he didn't realize that this was actually the one that was supposed to be $1,200. I didn't tell him. I scooped it up for like 300 bucks. And at some point later, I got an angry email back from him saying that he had made a mistake and messed up, so on and so forth. By that time, I had the thing, you know, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, you know, that was your mistake. I knew what it was. I feel bad for you, but, you know your movie props and your movie memorabilia. So, yeah, he was quite displeased. So I got what he wanted for $1,200, which at the time was way beyond my means, for $300. So, yeah. This actually has at the back, and this is difficult for me to get to, you can see the rear, under the rear wing there, you can see there's like a little tube looking thing. They're on both sides. And those are actually what they're little brass tubes that are glued on. That entire plane is styrofoam. And they slid this down wires to the guy's butt. So that's how they did that effect. And the engine is an actual RC engine, but it's actually, the back plate of that engine's off, and it's coupled to a stepper motor that's located right about where those 3 stars are on the side. And actually the entire plane uses stepper motors for all of the articulations. For the rudder, the elevators, the ailerons, the movements, all of them, they actually use stepper motors, which I have always found quite strange. I don't know why they didn't use actual RC stuff. The prop that's on there is a prop I put on because it's wood and it looks a little bit more natural. This prop here, let me reach up and grab that quick. If I can get in there. Oh dear God. Such high value video production here. Give me a second. There we go. This prop was a prop that was actually on it. And as it's been explained to me, and it seems reasonable, during the daylight, you want to be able to see this thing spinning when you're filming. And also during post-production, they remove this and put in an animated prop, because a spinning prop on film, probably you wouldn't see it. So for the movie, they needed something that they could easily see in post-production and digitally, remove, or whatever process. I don't think it was digital back then. But remove this and insert an animated prop. Plus, they needed to be able to see this spinning during filming, for safety reasons. So, but this is the original prop that actually comes on there. But I think it looks better with the kind of wooden prop on there. So yeah, that's that. And it's all styrofoam. And it's all wired up on the inside. It's actually kind of crazy how they went and did that. So behind it, again, that's one of the Short Circuit Robots promotional items. I wish I could get it down from there, but I can barely. I mean, I got my arm outstretched right now. But yeah, that is, I think it's the Sammy robot. But yeah, it's a box fan, and it still works. It lights up and everything like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So what you've probably already seen right over here is a crew jacket. It's a crew jacket from Short Circuit 2. I am too fat, so I do not fit into it and never will. But yeah, it's very cool, and yeah, so it's embroidered on the back, and I think it actually has a patch that says Labatt's for the Canadian beer, Labatt's on the front. And I got them. I got that off of eBay, and I say them because, yeah, I actually own a Short Circuit 1 crew jacket. Again, fully embroidered. I got them hanging up there. I should have them properly dry cleaned at some point, but yeah, I own one of them. So I just wish I could properly display them better, but I got them down here in my shop, and yeah, so those are those items there. And one more thing that is Short Circuit related, but not from the actual movie that I know of, and these are not mine. Let me get my display. These are Rhino robot arms. They used one of these in, not these particular ones, I don't believe, in Short Circuit 1. My teammate Martin purchased these. He actually has a teaching pendant in that box down there for them. They're non-functional, but everything is there on them. One's missing some motors, but he bought the one in the controller unit, which is absolutely gigantic, and like it weighs like 100 pounds. And then the actual arm. And this is one of the ones that I believe picked up the telephone receiver when Steve Guttenberg, when his character was in the office and picked up the phone and hung it up. One of these units was used. So yeah, got that. Okay, so now the next video you will see will be the input ink sign. So I hope you're enjoying this video so far. I know it's long-winded, but hey man, I got a lot to say. All right, so now on to the input ink sign proper. All right, folks, so this is the input ink sign that is seen at the near the end of Short Circuit 2. When Fred and Sandy Benettoni were getting into the limo. So yeah, this is the actual screen used input ink sign. I purchased this on eBay from somebody that bought this at some sort of like a yard sale or something. They didn't know exactly what it was, and you know, I was careful not to give too much up while bidding on the thing. I'm not sure what I paid for it. It wasn't cheap, but I won the auction, and it cost a fortune to ship because it is insanely heavy. It's stainless steel on the front, I believe, and it is made up of like medium density fiberboard. I'll try to show you here on the back, and you'll actually notice, and this is why I say you don't want to go like here, this corner. You don't want to go and fix that. Why? Because if you look in the movie, you'll actually see that corner damage, and there's actually a big section of it missing here on the side and on the bottom also. And I hope this is in frame because I don't have my viewfinder. I don't know if you can see that. But what they did when they attached this to the bank, and I don't know if actually I'll this is insanely heavy and I'm going hands-free here, but I'll show you. Oh God. Oh yeah. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. The double-sided sticky tape. Okay, and let me put this back up there. Oh God, that's heavy. Jesus. Yeah, there we go. Woo. All right. So when they put this on the side, the side of that building in the movie, they used double-sided sticky tape and didn't use enough. So this thing, at some point, fell off of there and it landed on that corner and damaged it, which authenticates it 100% as being screen used. Again, when you buy these sorts of things, you know, oh, it's you know, somebody said, oh, you can straighten that out easy. And I was like, no. I'm like, that's the way I got it. I'm going to leave it that way. And at some point after that, I was like, oh, dear God, I'm glad I didn't take that advice, because that identifies it as screen used. That's provenance. That's proof that that is the actual one. So yeah, and I hope this is showing up okay. I realize the lighting conditions aren't the best, but yeah, so I purchased this, geez, back in the you know, mid 2000s, I think. And I love this thing. It's wonderful. And yeah, and I also have a poster. I got this from the same lady I got some of the other things from. And actually, I'll mention her name. Her name was Virginia Smith. She lived down in, I believe, Louisiana. But yeah, wonderful young lady, and she definitely just, you know, she helped me out with my collection tremendously. A lot of these one-of-a-kind items I actually purchased from her. But of course not this. So yeah, that's the Input Ink sign. I love it. It hangs down here when I come down the steps. That's the first, you know, to my shop. That's the first thing I see. And it gives me inspiration. So, okay, so that's the Input Ink sign. And now on to the Muy Grande. All right, ladies and gentlemen, fellow YouTubians, this is the Muy Grande of my collection. This is the artwork that that was made by Syd Mead, blown up giant scale. This actually hung in Eric Allard's workshop while they were building the original Johnny 5 robot. This measures 7 feet high by 4 feet 8 inches wide. As you can see, it has some character to it. It's been you know, kind of beat up over the years. I haven't done any of this sort of patchwork. It's my belief, and I guess just standard practice when it comes to collectibles like this, or you know, props or anything like that. You really don't want to, you know, try to repair them. And in this case, that actually, you know, you don't want to change it in any way. You know, now I can see, like, you know, somebody went and fixed, you know, put some tape over this tear and a couple other places. This is actually made up from two large pieces of paper and was printed out on a giant printer at the time. You know, so and this comes complete with coffee or hot chocolate stains. I don't know what the story behind that. Probably somebody just kind of tripped and oopsie. So yeah, so I really like this, and I purchased this from a young lady in 2005. I can't remember what I paid for it, but it wasn't cheap. I actually purchased several short circuit items from her, and it normally gets stored in the shipping tube that she sent it to me in, and so this is actually the very first time that I've actually hung it up. I've actually had it on the floor before with like soup cans holding it down. This is actually probably the first and last time I'll ever hang this thing up, but I wanted to do this, make a proper, you know, video for, you know, people out there to be able to see and appreciate this. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is. It's kind of beat up and stuff, got a lot of character, but I love it just the way it is. And I will say this, I just today 100% confirmed that this was the actual one that hung in Eric's workshop. I had always, you know, I was always 99.9% sure that this was the one, and they only ever produced one of these. But until you authenticate it, and I have no provenance for this, but until you authenticate it either through some sort of paperwork, or, you know, like it's, you know, possession, you know, through time, again, paperwork, not just word of mouth, or the best thing is if you can see it used on screen. So today I just confirmed 100% that this is the actual one that hung in Eric Aller's workshop while they built the, you know, constructed the original Johnny 5 robots. And how I verified that is I went onto the Short Circuit DVD, and let me grab my video monitor here so I can see what you're seeing. Okay, this is the widescreen edition. Okay, oops, get my meat hooks out of the way there. And on the, what is it? This has special features, but it has a featurette, the making of number 5. And at the end of that featurette, okay, they show this at different times, but throughout the featurette, you'll see a small one behind the director, John Badham, a very small one that they probably, you know, used to make this one. But then there are many shots where you'll see this full scale one. And like I said previously, what you don't want to do is go around and start cleaning stuff or changing it, because you could be making a tremendous mistake in doing so. And this is in the same exact condition that I received it, and I want to point out the feature on this that shows 100% that it was in that making of featurette. It's kind of hard to see on screen in the video, but you can see in this area here, when it pans up, you will see some very faint, I got to get my video monitor here, some very faint sort of markings, and that's what those markings are. They are penciled in. Let's try to get out of the shadow. They're penciled in. That's not the only mark that's penciled in. There's actually some little vertical pencil marks where the nose would go on J5. Those are really the two I've only ever seen. But that right there can be seen in the video. It's a little blurry, a little hard to see on my copy. But I did view it on the computer, and you can see that there is something there, and you can kind of make out that shape. So there again is a perfect example where you don't want to, you know, oh, grab a pencil eraser and erase that. You know, no, that's proof that this was used. You know, that this was the one scene. Of course, this is yellowed. You know, I'm sure tobacco and, well, of course, it's just been kind of beat up over the years. But some of the interesting things that I like about this is like right down here on the lower torso, you can see these sort of features that Syd Mead drew in, and they were actually carried over to the actual robot. So little details like that I think are really cool. And you can kind of see like different things, like here, the shape of the arm here where it angles down. Just little things like that that I noticed from years of working on this thing that I can kind of immediately, I'm like, oh, the arm covering still retained that feature. The fingers retained, you know, pretty much the same feature and structure to a certain degree. So yeah, it was, you know, it's really cool to look at this and see those things. And yeah, I really love this piece. So there we go. Okay. So yeah, this one will go back into the tube. I wish I could properly display this in my house, but this thing's massive. I'm reasonably sure that my ceilings are probably, this would literally go from the floor to the ceiling in my upstairs, and you'd have to have some sort of proper frame for it, and yeah, so this takes up a large chunk of real estate, and obviously I don't want it to get damaged or, you know, ultraviolet light cause it to fade or anything. I want it to be in the condition that it's in for years to come. So it will go back into the tube, and I'll know it's there, and you know, I'll put this video on YouTube so everybody can kind of appreciate this, because it won't see the light of day till probably long after I'm gone. That's the thing. I like to, you know, things like this. I don't know what the value of something like this is. It's artwork. It's done by someone famous, Syd Mead, industrial designer, has worked on many, many movies, the Ford Motor Company. Yeah, he's just like a super well-known, you know, futurist guru. And I understand he's like, he's 80 some years old now. But to me, this, yeah, one of a kind. I love it. So these are the kinds of things I try to get when I can afford them. I can't remember what I paid for this. It wasn't cheap, but I would guess that, you know, something like this will, you know, only increase in value. Of course, it's like anything else. It's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. But I love this just the way this is. This is just beautiful. And of course, over here, if you're wondering, this says has Syd Mead's signature, and then has the saint under it, which is strategic advance, or no, oh geez, I can't even remember, the nuclear transport, something nuclear transport. But yeah, this is cool. I love this. I wish I could properly display it, but no. It is what it is. So there you go, folks. This is the muy grande of my collection, and I've shown you the other stuff, and I hope you've enjoyed me sharing, you know, what little trinkets and, you know, props and things like that that I have in my collection that I've collected over the years. People are going to ask, where do you find this stuff? Well, this young lady used to be a member of the Johnny5.com forum. which I don't even know if it's still in existence. But I actually purchased quite a few, short circuit posters from her, the military headgear, some of the other things I've covered in the previous section of this video. But yeah, she's a really wonderful lady, and maybe she'll see this and she'll get back a hold of me. I'd like to know how she's doing. So, all right, that's about it, folks. J5 Guru signing off. Bye for now.